When Iraq's modern history is written, he'll hope to be remembered as the man who put an end to America's occupation, imposing on Washington a timetable for withdrawal and insisting that it be implemented on time. Noor al-Maliki was a little-known political figure when he came to power in 2006. Baghdad was in grip of a sectarian war. Under pressure from Washington, he reluctantly accepted the U.S. troop surge. In 2008, the Prime Minister, backed by the U.S., waged a war in Basra against militias loyal to rival Shia parties, and then an offensive in Mosul against Al-Qaeda and its Sunni allies.
I think he wanted to send a message that the only force that should be in Iraq is the National Army and the Iraqi forces, because his party does not have a militia, and he feels that others shouldn't have militias too.
The operations highlighted the weaknesses of the security forces, and al-Maliki had to rely on Iranian mediation to stop the inter-Shia fighting in Basra. Nevertheless, Iraqis rewarded him when his party emerged victorious in the provincial elections last January. Kurds, the closest allies of the Shia coalition since 2003, are now at odds with the government in Baghdad, fearful of the Prime Minister's preference for a strong centralized government rather than a federal Iraq as stated in the new constitution.
Giving more powers to some institutions or even some persons, ignoring the constitution which has defined the shared powers between the federal government and the regions, and even the powers of the federal governments are defined. People in such situations remember Saddam Hussein.
With each faction fighting for its own survival, it has been impossible to pass key political legislations essential to keep the country together.
Most of the differences regarding these laws, the oil and gas law, and the constitution amendments is because of political differences. There is a huge political differences, and you know this, our parliament is not a rubber stamp.
Al-Maliki has so far failed in matching the security gains with nation building. There's been only limited reconstruction, unemployment remains high, and services are lacking.
He does not have many strong state institutions. He doesn't have a strong national army. He doesn't have a strong bureaucracy. He doesn't have full control on how money is being spent. He does not have a cabinet that he appointed. So any leader in Iraq, by default, is weak because there is very little to work with. And I think this frustration is felt across the board.
The biggest danger now for Iraq comes from the lack of political settlement, and the recent spate of high-profile attacks are just a reminder that permanent security remains elusive. Hoda Abdel, Hamid, Al Jazeera, Mosul.